Okay, I'd like to welcome everybody to a webinar between Cake and IPQS. We're excited to um, announce this integration between Cake and IPQS. I'd like to introduce the speakers today, who are going to be Brad Schumard, it's Cake's Senior Product Manager, and Michael Joseph, he's the Senior Vice President at IPQS, who are going to be your main guides through today's webinar, describing all the benefits of the integration and a little bit about Cake and a little bit about IPQS. And my name is Harry Beck, and I'm the Senior Vice President of Global Sales and Alliances here at Cake, as your moderator today. Before we get started, if you have any questions, by all means, drop them into the chat, and we'll try to get to Q&A at the end of the session here. So don't be shy. We have muted all of the mics and cameras, just to keep a good flow for the presenters today. But again, don't be shy dropping your questions into the chat box, and we'll try to address as many as we have time for after the presentation. And with that, I'm going to turn it over to Brad.
Thank you, Harry. Good morning. Welcome, everybody. So first, let's get a little introduction on Cake. So about Cake. So Cake is a performance marketing platform that enables digital marketers to do affiliate marketing, lead generation, and multi-channel marketing. Cake enables networks and brands to manage, measure, and optimize performance marketing in real time. Instrument your marketing strategy to get accurate insights on campaign and partner performance. So here's some bullet points on some key features that we should all know about Cake. First, real-time tracking and reporting. This is something we pride ourselves on, as it gives users those insights into their performance marketing platforms. Next is Cake offers affiliate and lead gen in one cohesive module. So that enables users to see the customer insights, the customer journey from impression all the way to lead submission. There's 100+ reports out of the box. We have APIs for you and your partners. And then we have integrations, kind of like the one we're going to demonstrate today, to extend your performance marketing program capabilities.
Awesome. Nice to meet everyone. My name is Michael from IPQualityScore. To give you guys a nice introduction to us as a business, we actually started off as an affiliate network ourselves. So we know all the struggles and challenges that networks face between different publishers, different traffic sources, and how, publishers can be tricky and they'll do anything to make a dollar. And what we ended up needing to do back in the day was build out our own solution to protect ourselves from affiliate fraud, and that's what IPQualityScore started from. So it was our in-house solution to prevent fraud for our own affiliate network. It's now turned into our major focus, and the big difference between us and anyone else in the industry really comes down to data quality. What we learned when we started was that other data sources are pulling from lots of different areas, right? They can be using an open source database, buying it from here and there. And what that creates is inconsistencies, right? You're going to have different reports coming on, let's say the same IP address from different sources, right? You don't necessarily know which one to trust. You don't necessarily know the age of it or the reason why something could be marked as abusive. And it wasn't doing a good job of catching any of the newer types of fraud as well, which would be like a residential proxy. And so we ended up finding a group of guys that used to work for the NSA. And we built out what's now known as the largest honeypot network in the world. This is where we get all of our data from, or the majority of our threat data. It's a network of over 10,000 different websites, traps. Some of them are tools on the dark web for fraudsters to use. The idea is that we're attracting fraud, and when we see it, we're collecting the real-time data. And that's the data that you would be able to use to catch any type of suspicious traffic, coming through any of your guys' campaigns. Either just track it or redirect it. Whatever it is that you need to do, you're going to have an accurate way to know whether or not it's a real person or if it's a bot clicking on a link. And one of the interesting things about our honeypot network is that we're generating over 1 billion new threat reports every day. With this type of scale coming in, or this type of volume, it's allowed us to have the shortest look back windows in the industry. So we're only looking back 24 to 48 hours typically if we're saying, hey, this IP is abusive. We don't need to look back 2 weeks, 3 weeks, a month or more, which most of the other platforms are doing because they don't have the data flow. They'll have gaps in their system if they do that. So the main idea behind what we do is all the data is in-house. It's very real time, and you don't have to worry about any type of stale reporting, which translates into the most accurate IP reputation scoring that there is out there today. And that's why we are partnering with Cake to help you guys protect all of your campaigns. So I think Brad now is going to go into how everything would work.
Great, thank you, Michael. So yeah, there's that. And we will get to the demonstration. Okay. All right, so first what we're gonna do is configure Cake to talk to IPQS. So in Cake, you're gonna navigate to your setup, settings, and third-party integration settings. And we have a new fraud integration provider, IPQualityScore, or IPQS for short. So this is the IPQS instance that I'm currently using. So I'm just going to go to my settings, account settings, and grab the API key. And that's what I have here. The thing to note with the configuration of Cake is there's two strategies. There's a global strategy, and then there's an offer-specific strategy. What you're seeing here is the configuration of the global click scoring. So the current configuration is scoring at a global level, which means by default, all offers are going to check this configuration and use the thresholds that have been set. So in this example, click scoring is enabled globally. We're going to redirect any traffic at a threshold of 100. So when Cake talks to IPQS, we're doing it in the click processing on click scoring. And that's important to understand because when we receive that score back, it's going to be a range from 0 to 100. So that gives you the granular control to say, I want to redirect anything over X, right? In this particular case, because we're doing things globally, setting it at a threshold of 100 basically means you're only going to catch things that are coming back with that really high score. So using the global strategy would make sense for all your offers, but my recommendation is to actually do offer specific to start. So we're going to turn off the global strategy. And then conversion scoring will leave enabled globally. And that enables us to go to the offer. So get Cake. So I have a Cake offer. And the same settings have been replicated down to the offer level. You'll see conversion and validation threshold and click scoring. So in this particular offer, I've enabled click scoring. And I've set it to a threshold of 90. So anything that meets that threshold will be redirected to the redirect offer that is configured. So this is another point to stop and highlight things. We have the ability to monetize unwanted traffic, and that's what this configuration is showing here. You have a complimentary offer where you're able to route that suspicious traffic. If I didn't want to try to monetize that traffic, I would basically leave the redirect offer empty so that it goes through the Cake redirect strategy, which is to check the campaign level, which is a partner specific redirect. If nothing's set at that level, we move up the hierarchy in Cake, which is a offer redirect, which is what I'm showing on my screen here. And that's a redirect for all partners under an offer. And then we have one additional check, which is the vertical level. So at the vertical level, it would be all offers and all partners. Wherever you configure the redirect offer, the lowest level will win. So that gives you the flexibility to say, for this publisher, I want to try and monetize their traffic, but for this publisher, you may just want to send it to the global redirect or a 404 page. So that's click scoring. Um, with the configuration I have here, I'm going to send in a fraudulent IP. And so the way I'm simulating this is by passing in an IP address. With Cake, obviously, we're passively detecting the IP address, so you wouldn't need to pass that into Cake. But let's do a quick example. Okay. All right. So you'll see I'm passing through this IP address, which is known to be fraudulent. And when I click that, I get a 404. On my current configuration, I have nothing set at the global redirect level or nothing set at the other levels in the redirect strategy. So this is me not trying to monetize that traffic. Conversely, if I send through something that's not fraudulent with this IP address, you'll see I make it to my landing page of getcake.com, right? So that's click scoring happening in real time, stopping traffic from even making it to your advertiser site. The next thing I'd like to show is conversion scoring not paying for fraudulent conversions. So conversion scoring is powerful for the same reasons that click scoring is. Conversion, I would argue, is a little more important because it has to deal with commissions, right? So you could have a situation where the click makes it through, and the conversion would be our last chance at catching that fraud, right? Because the conversion is happening in process, we're able to make payment decisions, which are configured at this drop down here. So these are what we refer to as behavior on redirect. So in the conversion context, if the threshold is met, I can say any one of these options, right? My recommendation would be to do no affiliate payment, no advertiser payment, so that the conversion's still created, which allows you to monitor that conversions are coming through unpaid, which kind of calls out to the marketer that, hey, why are these conversions unpaid? Which gives you the clue to dig into the specifics and see those dispositions. So for this case, I'm going to do no advertiser payment. And I'm going to turn off click scoring just so I can get through on the click and send through a conversion. Okay, so we have a high click here. And then now I'm gonna force fire a pixel to simulate reaching a confirmation page. And the conversion has tracked. So if we go check the pixel log, okay. So in the pixel log, we have, uh, which one am I on this one? You'll see a conversion was scored, but we set an unpaid disposition of invalid score. So the conversion pixel log is for debug information. So it's just a quick way to get there. But ultimately, this unscored conversion shows itself in reports in the conversion column, as opposed to the paid column, right? So you can compare conversions to paid. So conversions is already enabled. So you'll see conversions has 154, right? But there's only 151 that are paid. So that's what's drawing my eye to the fact that there is unpaid conversions that are tracking. So the beauty is, because this conversion is considered unpaid, what that means is the affiliate does not receive commission, which means their pixels are not fired. So one of the biggest challenges with running a performance program is running reconciliation at the end of the month. And this feature gives you benefits in that direction, right? It simplifies the clawbacks that you'd have to do end of month based on fraud because you're proactively stopping it in its tracks. Okay. So that's click scoring. We've done some conversion scoring. Let's go back to the offer and take a look at some of these other offer specific settings. So my current configuration, I'm using IPQualityScore's strictness feature. And strictness ultimately is a way to pass additional parameters into IPQS so that they can run more stringent checks on their side. Michael, did you want to elaborate on this at all?
If I was at the strictness level.
Yeah.
So yeah, okay. So the difference between the strictness levels is the time period. Remember, I said that we have the shortest look back windows, 24 to 48 hours. That would be on our setting of 0. So we do have settings
Okay.
available for 0, 1, and 2. The higher you set the setting, the farther it will look back. The issue with increasing the setting is that you're going to run the risk of having false positives. So we suggest you start with a setting of 0. And then if you are still having any issues, you would increase it over time. But starting with a high level is typically not the best practice. So we would suggest starting with 0.
Obviously, this is configurable, but it's also able to be configured globally. Depending on your strategy, whether it's configured, offer specific, or globally, Cake can handle both configurations. So yeah, we're starting with the best practice here. If you wanted to move that up, it's as simple as a drop down. One of the other added features that we've introduced here is the ability to do rules targeting. So at the rules targeting level, we've introduced a click score, and this click score works by entering a minimum and maximum range. So the question becomes, why would I use the offer level click scoring at this level versus rules targeting? And the short answer is more control over the redirect. Um, you may have a situation where you want to keep that traffic on the offer, but maybe show them a different landing page. Through rules targeting, you'd have those capabilities. The probably most common use case is I'm a user that's leveraging the redirect strategy. Therefore, I actually have a page as my global redirect. So I don't want fraudulent traffic to make it to the global redirect. I actually want to 404 it. This is the configuration you'd be able to do. You'd set up rules targeting, you'd set your range, and whenever that's met, it would redirect to this 404 configured. So that's the engine. Um, that's how Cake handles the inputs. But the question becomes, how do I interpret all this data? Which leads us into Cake reporting. So you'll see we have click scoring column here enabled, click score. And this is at the detail level, which is helpful. It allows you to see why an individual record received a disposition. And you'll see some invalid scores listed here, right? Um, the other interesting thing is, well, how are my partners performing in aggregate, right? And that's where I would start at the offer level. So we've introduced two new things here. First, we've introduced this conversion score average, which is, since we're at the offer level, it's the conversion score average for all partners running that offer. If I wanted to drill down and see individual partner performance, I could drill down to the campaign level and I can see conversion score average. The second concept we've added is this high risk conversions. So it's actually a conversion count showing you how we're getting to that threshold. So just by looking at this report, I could see Brad looks like he's driving the most high risk conversions. And for that reason, his conversion score average is actually the highest. So this would be a clue to me to start monitoring or potentially start engaging with that publisher to better understand what sorts of traffic they're running, why we're seeing so much fraud on their network. Ultimately, at the end of the day, it's a relationship industry. And if you're not able to clean that up with the partner, you could take actions in Cake to terminate the link. So that's how IPQS reporting manifests itself in Cake. We can take it a step further. And looking at Brad as an example, we could drill down to the sub-affiliate level. And then we could apply the same logic at the sub-publisher level as well. Right, so you'll see empty, which is always a red flag, has a ton of conversions with a conversion score average and a lot of high risk conversions. Okay, so that takes us through reporting. And that should do it. Let's go ahead and throw it back to the moderator. Do we have any questions in chat?
Been monitoring the chat. Some questions that do come to mind, and if you guys do have questions, feel free to drop them into the chat, and we can address them. But
I think that sorry, Harry, one thing that I forgot to mention. So we do have a free account available. So anyone who wants to come in and test any IP addresses, we have a few other tools available as well. But you can come over, create a free account. The link will be on the webinar. I think that they're going to send it out to you guys as well. Or you can just go to IPQS.com, create your free account. You'll get your API key. You can plug it into Cake and you can start running free traffic, or you can running traffic for free. We give you up to 5,000 API calls per month for free, 200 per day. And that's a great way for you to get familiar with the integration, to get familiar with how the data looks. You can set it up so that it does only monitor and doesn't actually block anything to start. So it's more of just an awareness thing to start. And then, at some point, that's when you would turn it on. So that's the only other thing that I had to mention.
Very good. Yeah, thanks, Michael, for that. That's great information for this audience. But some questions that come to mind is, we talked a lot about lead scoring, and obviously Cake can handle both affiliate and lead gen customers. And I guess this would be for Brad. Can Cake lead gen users also utilize this integration?
That's a great question. Of course they can. The thing with lead gen is we can deal with different posting methods. So with IPQS specifically, in our communication to them, we're passing the consumer's IP address and the consumer's user agent. So that means that's only going to be applicable to a certain type of lead gen traffic. Which would be what we refer to as a browser post method. So the same functionality I've demonstrated here could be applied to a lead gen context. Click scoring would kick in and stop the fraudulent traffic from reaching the web form or the landing page. And then in addition to that, on the actual lead submission to Cake, we'll process conversion scoring, because in Cake, a conversion or a lead is still a conversion because it changes, the commission changes hands. So that's how we keep track of everything. So long story short, yes, we can support it. And you have all the same bells and whistles available to you.
That's great. And Michael, a question for you, it would be, can a user customize the scoring settings on the IPQS fraud score?
Yeah, so as I mentioned, we're very familiar with how either certain publishers can be higher risk than others, or as well as, every single affiliate network isn't going to have the same type of traffic, right? They're going to be seeing different types of fraud. So what our platform enables you to do is to utilize our custom settings. So for example, let's say that you're seeing a lot of fraud coming through residential connections, functioning as residential proxies, which are particularly coming through the ISPs of Spectrum, Frontier, or Cox, which is where we typically see those. We can make sure that we increase the scoring on those or the penalty so that it'll come back in a higher fraud score threshold. So making sure it comes above that 90 every time. We can also customize different things off of geo, different abuse patterns, and anything else. So it's very flexible. It's designed to be customized, and that's one of the reasons. Another reason why it's able to be as accurate as it is.
That's great. Okay. And you may have touched on this, but it's worth asking is if somebody wanted to do a testing phase where click scoring is run, but we don't redirect traffic, is that possible?
Yeah, so what we would be doing is setting your guys' scoring threshold to 100. I believe right now, I'm not sure that Cake has the ability for it, but we'll make an adjustment on our back end so that the scoring only comes up to 99. So anything that comes back at the 100, or so the scoring, basically everything will be allowed through. We're just going to monitor the traffic. It's a great way to get familiar with the data, the reporting. It's a great way to learn more about your publishers, your traffic quality, and then from there you can take the next steps of actually activating it so that we start redirecting traffic.
Sounds good. Okay. Another question we have is, do you have a list of metrics used to determine fraud? For example, browser version?
So yeah, we can pass the browser or the user agent. The user agent is typically something that improves accuracy for what we refer to as public access points. You can think like a Starbucks, right? Everyone who's in Starbucks on their Wi-Fi will be coming from the same IP. One person could be using it to do affiliate fraud or an account takeover or whatever it is that they're doing. The next person next to them can be using it for good intentions, right? So how do you distinguish those two? It's not a perfect science, but one of the ways that you can actually distinguish between them would be the browser, the user agent, as you're describing, as well as the language. So these are just different identifiers that we can use to improve scoring accuracy.
That's great. Okay. If there are any other questions, don't be shy. Put them in the chat. Happy to answer them. But if there are none, I think we can leave it there. But Michael, I wanted to thank you, and thank IPQualityScore for all the great work you guys have done with Cake. Oh, did you have something else to add?
Yeah, so just to elaborate a little bit more, our documentation will list all of the data points that we actually typically return in a JSON response. So this is going to include the geo. It's going to include if we've seen abuse on that IP in the past 24 to 48 hours. We're going to have a bot status. Have we seen bot activity on it in the same time period? We'll have an abuse velocity. So in that time period, how frequently have we been seeing the abuse? Is it a proxy? Is it a VPN? Is it a Tor or dark web connection? We can also distinguish between active VPNs or active Tor nodes, which are basically commercial providers. So think like a NordVPN, typically going to be lower risk than a hide my ass Chrome extension that thousands of people are sharing. So there's lots of different ways, and a lot of those are used not necessarily to make decisions with, but they're used to customize the scoring. The main point that you would be looking at is the fraud score. It's our algorithm's output of risk associated with that IP during the look back window. So if you want that full list, I would suggest creating your free account. The documentation will be there for you as well, or you can send myself an email. I think you guys will get it it's Michael at IPQS.xyz. But you should get that in whatever follow-up we do here. But that's all that I have. Thank you guys.
Yeah, no, that's great. We do have one more question that came in. If an affiliate publisher is activating a geo-specific flash promo, for example, a district in New York, would they have to notify you to avoid the traffic being blocked? It's a good question.
I'm not sure I follow. Um, is that more of a question geared towards the scoring or towards the geo-targeting capabilities of Cake?
Well, let's maybe answer it both ways.
Okay. So I can speak to the geo-targeting on Cake. So Cake uses a third-party vendor to keep our geos up to date based on IP addresses. So if you were configuring your offer to only allow specific geos, all your publisher has to do is send traffic to that tracking link, and then Cake will filter out anything that's not from the appropriate geo.
And then from our end, yes, you guys just need to let us know, and we can do that for you. So that's no issue.
So you can get hyper accurate in geo targeting for letting stuff through or not. So that's great. Okay. Awesome. All right. Well, I wanted to, again, thank Michael from IPQualityScore and Brad from Cake for kind of walking us through this integration today. And, if you have any other questions, you can reach out to us. We're available. And I think we're going to be sending out a recording and some additional information on how to contact everybody on this webinar. But to all the attendees, thanks for your time this morning, this afternoon, this evening, depending on where you're from. And I'm sure we'll be in touch soon. And thanks everybody for your attention this afternoon.